From a personal standpoint, I think just living in the Pacific Northwest is a fantastic area to be. You've got a lot of resources locally. We've been fortunate to have people like Carlos at SCORE to help us through in the beginning. Carlos has been my mentor for about 7 or 8 years now, so it's been quite a long time. There's a lot of opportunities to interact with other companies, being members of WBBA, which is the Washington Biotech and Bioscience Association, and also OBA. We get to meet with at least the companies that work in our area. I think the other thing is, from an export standpoint, Washington State is a fantastic area to be, and why not be in Vancouver, Washington? It's a wonderful place to be. I came to Vancouver in 1996 with a small startup company called Saliva Diagnostic Systems. They were actually located in East Ridge Business Park in Vancouver, and I've lived here ever since. And it was actually the heart of the oral diagnostics area. Saliva Diagnostics started both here in Vancouver and in Beaverton, Oregon. We started in 2002 as a small company called Bambara Marsh, which eventually changed to Oasis Diagnostics in 2007. Our mandate was to develop non-invasive diagnostic tools. In other words, tools that remove the painful blood draw from diagnosis. And we use saliva as a specimen of choice for all the technologies that we've developed. And we now have four major technologies, which basically cover the breadth of testing for diagnosis of various diseases. And if you look at the market as it's established, it comprises laboratory-based testing, what they call point-of-care testing, where you test somebody immediately, like a pregnancy test, for instance, and also molecular diagnostics, which relies on the use of DNA or RNA in order to diagnose diseases. We have a tool that basically fits into each of those different categories. We've sort of transitioned from a company that started with one product to a company that has multiple technologies, and we see the opportunities for more and more products. But the ultimate goal is to help as many people as possible by diagnosing diseases on a global basis. This device is very novel, and in my opinion it's revolutionary, and it's very simple. And it requires that you collect a saliva specimen by putting this pad in your mouth for about 30 seconds, and literally it's a very absorbent pad, so it wicks up very quickly. There's what's called a sample volume indicator here that tells you that you've collected enough saliva, and when you've done that, you basically squeeze it through like this. And in this particular device here, we have a special gadget attached to the end where we filter out very larger particles, if you like, which includes things like DNA and cells. And what comes out the other end, and if you can imagine, there are a couple of tubes on the end of here. One is to collect RNA, which is ribonucleic acid instead of deoxyribonucleic acid that everybody knows as DNA. And that contains a lot of the signals and messages and things that dictate which way diseases go, which markers are upregulated, which markers are downregulated. And on the other side, we get proteins. So from this one little gadget, you get DNA, RNA, and proteins from saliva in a very short period of time. If you want to get RNA right now, what you have to typically do is draw blood, spin it down, and then do a whole series of manipulations with a very costly test kit in a laboratory that takes maybe 5 or 6 hours. If you look at the cost of current laboratory-based testing, it's blood-based for a start. So you have to draw blood, which is costly because you have to have a phlebotomist to take the sample, highly trained individual. With saliva, you don't need to do that. Blood is also infectious, so you have to treat it nicely, and you have to transport it, which is costly. With saliva, it's a non-infectious substance. You can ship it basically through the mail without problems, and just the general cost of doing a saliva test is less than 50% of doing a blood test.